You know when you're walking around town or maybe you're at a bus station or something and you're gonna find a billboard or an advertisement somewhere for a toothbrush or something like that. Anytime you see something like this, you gotta remember that somebody got paid to do this. So if you're a good 3D artist, you're gonna take a picture, you're gonna write down the company name, and you're gonna take some inspiration from that billboard. So for example, I saw an Oral-B commercial somewhere, so I went to their Instagram page. As you can see, they got a whole bunch of really cool product footage, which was probably made by a 3D artist. So they probably don't need some asshole like me to come in there and start selling product visualization services. But what you can do is go to ChatGPT and ask him, name some competitors for the company Oral-B. And ChatGPT is going to give you a whole bunch of companies which these guys are in competition with. Here's an example of a company which ChatGPT described as a newer entrant, which means that this company has not been in the game for a long time, which probably means that there's plenty of space for product visualization. Now, if you look up this company right here, you're going to see that they're into a whole bunch of LGBT shit, so they probably don't want a guy like me. But if you guys are into this type of shit, you guys can go reach out to them after you follow this video. I'm just going to make one of their toothbrushes for the purpose of this video, and you guys can use that for whatever you want. So we're going to make one of these today, and we're going to work pretty quickly. So if you want to learn more about the techniques that you're going to see me using in this video, I explained everything inside my Blender course. You can check that out with the link in the description. Now let's get busy. We're going to start by making the handle for the toothbrush because the topology is pretty fucked up. Luckily, I learned from Thomas Colin 3D, so I know how to take care of this, so pay attention. First, delete your default cube. Then with Shift A, you're going to add a cube. Now press Ctrl 2. I want 2 levels of subdivision surface. With Ctrl A, we're going to apply the subdivision surface modifier. Now select this surface over here in the front and press I to inset. Now we're going to go W loop tool circle, and in this circle menu down here, we're going to uncheck flatten. It might work a little bit better if instead of loop tools, we just use a Boolean modifier here. So place the cursor right here, and with Shift A, we're going to add a cylinder, which is going to have 16 vertices. Flip that sideways like this and scale it down so it fits inside this surface in the front here. Now select the subdivided cube right here, but before we do anything else, we better apply a cast modifier to turn this into a perfect sphere. So add modifier, deform, click on cast, set the factor to 1, Control A to apply it. Now add another modifier, generate Boolean. Difference, target this cylinder right here, Control A to apply, delete this cylinder. You can also select this face at the bottom and delete vertices. That's also going to delete the faces on the sides. And now we got to do a little bit of cleanup. So we're just going to delete all the vertices which don't create any angles. That's this one right here, which is just placed on a straight edge. Another one over here, a few more up here. So press X, dissolve vertices. We got these corners over here where there's 3 vertices bunched up in one area. So we're going to take this one, and with double G, we're going to slide it to this vertex up here. Then slide this one down here and join these two with J. Do the same thing on every other part of this object where you have to. We're going to take some geometry over here from the side, and we're going to push that outwards a little bit just to correct the shape. Let's also do the same thing from the top. Now maybe we can go up here and do face grid fill. Give me span 4. I'll select the 4 faces in the front here and inflate them with Alt S just so I get a curved shape here as well. Now give me a loop cut right here and slide it up to the middle. Then select the bottom half of this sphere and just lower this down on the Z axis to somewhere around here. This is going to be the handle for the toothbrush. And now select this surface in the front here. You're going to inset that with I, but only slightly like this, and make sure to uncheck edge rail here. Then go to face select mode and zoom in on this little part here. Select this, press Alt E, extrude faces along normals, and just push this backwards a little bit. Delete the faces on the inside. Maybe it's better if we don't delete the faces on the inside, because otherwise you're going to see a little gap here. Now select all the sharp edges. Go to object mode and press Ctrl 2 because I want 2 levels of subdivision surface. Object shade smooth. As you can see, there's a little bit of a pinch right here, so we got to do something about the geometry here before we move forward. So I'm going to go to top view with 7 and select this geometry on the sides like this, and I'll just move that backwards a little bit on the y-axis. And we're also going to need some more loop cuts here to correct the geometry. We want to have square faces on the sides here. That way the subdivided shape is also going to look much nicer. Now select this surface at the top here. You're going to extrude that with I, then go W loop tool circle. You can delete the faces at the top, then extrude this surface one more time, scale it to 0 on the Z axis, go to W loop tool circle again. And now we're just going to extrude this up to around here somewhere. This is the neck of the toothbrush, and this is where you stick in the part that touches your fucking teeth. So there's going to be a little gap here, and then we're going to make the extension where you have the brush itself. So just extrude this all the way up to around here somewhere. This neck looks a little bit too thick, so we're going to make it a little bit thinner. And once we get to the top, this is where shit gets interesting, because now we have to fill this with F, Control B to bevel it, and you're going to press C to enable clipping and scroll up a couple of times. You want to have a little ball end up here. Now give me a couple of loop cuts, because once again I want to have square faces on this surface. And now we just got to figure out how to attach a brush up here, which is easier said than done. done. So let's duplicate this and place it somewhere to the side just so we have a backup, because we're definitely going to fuck something up and we're going to have to go back. And then we're going to select one side of this top part here like this and delete all the faces there. Place the 3D cursor on this vertex right here. Select all the geometry up here. Extrude right click, scale to 0 on the x-axis. Fill this with F. This is going to be a little triangle, but it's alright. We can slide these edges down to make a curved shape down here. Now, since we have this little edge sticking out here, we have to do something similar for all these edges in the front. So we're going to select these vertices here and place the 3D cursor between them. Now select this entire edge segment, extrude right click and scale it up so it has the same width as this part right here. Then just place the 3D cursor onto this vertex and snap this onto the 3D cursor. Do the same thing on the other side. And now you can take this entire face loop in the front, extrude right click, push it out on the x-axis, then scale it to 0 on the x-axis. And I think this is supposed to have a little bit of a step here as well, so we got to do something about that. I'm thinking we can delete this entire face segment over here. Then we can just duplicate this geometry from the other side here. Shift D, right click, scale to -1 on the x-axis. And now we just got to figure out a way to connect this geometry. So we're going to get rid of these little triangles here that we had before. Fill all the gaps over here on the side. You can just select this entire gap and deselect the edges at the beginning and at the end. Then go W, bridge, edge loops. We got some shitty topology up here, so we're just going to delete all the faces like this at the top. Then because of the way the edges are behaving, we're going to select this entire arc over here at the top and we're going to lift it up a little bit. As you can see now, the edges are aligned a little bit better. Place the 3D cursor on this vertex here, extrude these two edges and scale them to 0 on the x-axis. Make sure to connect the sides over here with the 3D cursor. Then place the 3D cursor on this vertex. Select this entire edge loop, extrude right click, scale to 0. Correct the normals and merge vertices by distance. And now in face select mode with alt right click, we're going to select this face loop that goes all the way around here. Go up here to select loops, select boundary loop. Control B to bevel this. I'm only going to go with one segment, but that's going to make this little step here much more visible. I feel like this whole thing is a little bit too long, so I'm going to dissolve some edges like this. Select the top part and just lower it down. Now indeed we fucked up because it turns out that this surface has to be circular. So we're going to delete everything down here and we're only going to leave this part up here which is circular already. So delete faces, place the 3D cursor right here with Shift S and select this surface. Shift D, right click, scale it to -1 on the Z axis, Control N, merge vertices by distance. We're going to delete the vertices in the back and now we have to figure out a way to connect this. So let's dissolve this edge loop down here. We're also going to get rid of this one. Now select these vertices in the front and lift them up. We're going to see if we can connect this with the circle that we just created. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 edges that we have to connect, and we got only 8 edges on the back here currently, so we got to add some more vertices or some more edges. We should be able to do that by adding a new loop cut right here. Take these edges and slide them up, merge by distance, then add a loop cut here and another one over here on the other side. Join this with J, join this part with J as well. Maybe instead of joining this with J, we can also take these edges and slide them out and create another loop cut over here. Then just deselect this and slide this to the top, merge by distance. And now we should have enough geometry to connect everything, so let's go to front view and make sure that it's aligned. Push everything forwards a little bit, select this edge loop, select the edge loop in the back. We can use W loop tool circle to make sure that this is a perfect circle. As you can see, the geometry back here is not perfectly aligned, so we might have to lower it down or reposition some of it, but you're not going to have to worry about this too much, so just go object shade smooth. Fill this with F. We're going to do Control B to bevel this. I want 2 segments and a shape value of 1. And now we can start making the hair that's going to come out of here, and this is what you use to brush your teeth. You know, in the medieval days, they didn't have toothpaste. But when you go to the shop now, there's 15 different types of toothpaste. There's some that are 8 times more expensive than the others, but they're all the same shit. So they're just trying to take your fucking money when in reality, you don't even need toothpaste. If you Google it, you're going to find out that people in the Middle Ages did not have bad teeth at all. It's not as bad as you think it was. They were brushing that shit with leaves and grass and all this. Probably people in the Middle Ages were healthier than you are today. I Googled how many hairs you're supposed to have on a toothbrush, and it turns out they're not called hairs, they're called bristles. And Google tells me there's supposed to be about 2,500 to 3,000 of them, so we're gonna see. So here's how you add bristles to your toothbrush. We're gonna place the 3D cursor to the front right here, and we first have to shape the surface which is gonna emit hairs. So let's go to front view like this, and first with Shift A we're going to add a plane. We're going to align that plane with our view using this menu down here. Scale it down, place it somewhere down here like this. Subdivide to give me some more geometry, and now we're gonna bend it slightly, scale this up a little bit. Give me a subdivision surface modifier. We're gonna make it a little bit longer, and we're going to angle it like this. And now let's see what happens when we spin this, because we need multiple instances of this shape right here. So let's select everything, place the 3D cursor right here, press Alt-E, spin, check use duplicates. I only want to have 8 steps. This method is going to work, but I want to shape this a little bit differently. So I'm going to undo the spin and I'm going to rotate this shape like this. As you can see, that gives me a completely different look, but I still want these to be a little bit thinner. So I'm going to select these edges here, and with individual origins, I'm going to scale them down to make this shape thinner. I played around with this a little bit, and I think it looks best when we have 10 or 12 instances. But once again, I'm going to undo the spin tool because I want to create another shape over here in the middle. So with Shift A, give me a circle, which I'm also going to align with my view. Let's give that circle 16 vertices. We're not going to need more than that. Let's try placing that around here, and now we're going to use the spin tool. The circle is currently too large, so we got to make it a little bit smaller and push it a little bit further out. Now we got some circles as well. We just need to add a plus shape to the middle. Once we do that, we can start adding the hairs. So with Shift A, give me a plane, which I'm going to align with my view as well, and we're going to scale that down like this. Lift it up to around here somewhere. Now we made this a little bit longer than it is wide, and we got a subdivision surface modifier, so that's making it a little bit round. So give me 2 loop cuts like this and another one this way. We're going to bring these vertices together, and this is the shape that I want for the plus in the middle. So select this shape, press Alt-E, spin, use duplicates. I want 4 steps. I got my plus shape, but now I'm going to select all these circles, and with individual origins, I'll scale them down. After that, with medium point, I'm going to scale them up to push them apart. As you can see, that gives me a little bit more space for this plus shape, so now I can scale that up. And now this is a surface that's going to have hair sticking out of it. Now let's make the hair. So with Shift A, we're going to add a circle, which is going to have 5 vertices. 5 is the minimum amount of vertices that you need if you want something to look like a circle from a distance. In this case, this is going to be really tiny, so it's kind of the same as if you're looking at it from a distance. A triangle is not going to cut it, a quad's not going to cut it, but a pentagon kind of looks like a circle, so we're going to be all right. Now fill this with F and extrude it out, and you want to make it pretty damn long like this. Now select this surface here, go to particle properties, add a new particle system, switch that to hair. You're going to scroll down here to render. You're going to change this from path to object, and you're going to target this object right here. Make sure to select the top and the bottom face here and go Control E, mark sharp. After that, go object shade smooth, check keep sharp edges right here, and now you are going to have to rotate this to align it properly. So you're going to place the 3D cursor right here, set the pivot point to 3D cursor, and rotate this by 90 degrees around the x-axis. Now you got a whole bunch of little bristles. Now obviously we're going to have to make these smaller, so we're going to reduce the hair length here, but we're going to make this entire mesh here a little bit longer. Now set the number here to 3000 because that's what Google said. I think these are probably supposed to be a little bit thicker and a little bit shorter, so I'm going to reduce their size on the y-axis, but I'm going to increase their size with Shift Y. I still think we're going to need a lot more of these, so I'm going to try 5000. You also have to either apply or remove the subdivision surface modifier. If we apply the subdivision surface modifier, that fucks with the geometry on the circle, so you want to do something about that. In this case, we're going to select a vertex here in the middle, press Shift G, select similar amount of connecting edges, then press Control plus X, delete vertices, and simply select all the circles, and after that you're going to fill them with F. It turns out that the geometric density dictates the density of the bristles, so we can't just have an n-gon here. It would be much better if we have a grid fill. So we're going to get rid of all these circles except for one, then take the last one, inset with I, select this face in the middle and delete vertices. Now you just have an empty circle. Now you can go to face grid fill, set the span down here to 16, and now there's a whole bunch of little hairs sticking out of this, as you can see right here. So go back to front view, place the 3D cursor in the middle, Alt E, spin, use duplicates. We want 8 instances. We had 10 before, so we're going to use 10. Now this looks evenly distributed. I think we're going to go with a few more hairs. And now the bristles are ready, but we still have to do something to the base of this brush, because at the base of this brush it's supposed to look like these bristles are coming out of a hole, and to do that we're going to use a Boolean modifier. So duplicate this object right here, but remove the particle system from that duplicated object. Then place the 3D cursor right here on that object and add a circle with, let's say, 128 vertices. You're going to scale that down so it's approximately the size of this surface back here. In fact, you want it to be just larger than the hairy surface like this. Now go to face, grid fill, span 32, and then extrude this object here. Push the extruded object through the surface which we just created. Make sure that the normals are correct. Now select the thin surface, go to modifier, add modifier, Boolean. You're going to target this object right here, apply the modifier, get rid of this. Sometimes the Boolean modifier fucks up, like in this case we have to manually cut out this hole. It defined the shape for us, but it didn't remove the geometry, so now we have to select that manually and X delete faces. And it's going to be a headache because sometimes your faces are going to be really tiny, but whatever, we took care of it. Extrude this out, correct the normals, and now push this backwards. Place it on the surface right here. Make the bristles come out of there. Parent the disc to the rest of the brush with Control P. Now the brush is ready. Let's take care of some details down here. First, we're going to duplicate this so that we have a backup, and then we're going to apply 2 levels of subdivision surface. We're going to select a little surface like this down here. There's going to be some sort of light here. I guess this tells you if it's turned on or if there's battery or whatever. This is going to have to be half of a circle, and this part down here is going to be half of the circle, so we have to do this a little bit better because right now this is not round. So place the 3D cursor right here with Shift S cursor to selected. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices here, which means half of this circle is going to be 8 vertices, which means the full circle is going to be 16 vertices. Scale that circle down until it fits into this area, which we just inset and flip it sideways like this. Select these vertices here and tear them with V, but then right click to snap them back. Now take this lower half and lower it down here to the bottom of this inset area. Connect the vertices on the side of the circles with F, and now you got to figure out how many loop cuts you have to create on both of these sides, and that has to be the same as the vertices over here in the back. So we already got 8 edges over here, which we're going to connect with these 8 edges back here. Then if we select this part over here, you can see that we got another 8 edges, which means that here we have to add a total of 7 loop cuts. Same thing over here on the other side. Let's select this loop here and try face grid fill. Using a span of 12 and an offset value of -1 seems to work best. Now you're going to extrude this surface and correct the normals. Then select this surface down here, add modifier, generate boolean, set that to difference, target this object right here, apply the boolean modifier. You can get rid of this object now. Now we're going to do a little bit of boolean cleanup, which I'm not going to go deep on in this video because I do that in basically every video that I ever make. Now we're going to take this surface at the bottom and we're going to delete all the faces there. Then duplicate this edge loop, separate it to new object. This face loop here has to get grid filled one more time, so 12 vertices on the span. This time the offset has to be 3. I don't know why it's different now, but who gives a fuck. Inset this surface with I, delete the outer vertices, extrude this down. We're going to do Control 2 to add a little bit of subdivision surface. Select all the sharp edges around this surface and bevel them with Control B. Object shade smooth. You can also add another subdivision surface modifier to the toothbrush, but then you also have to bevel this edge out here. Next, we got to take a segment around the neck like this, and we got to push that inwards a little bit. And now the toothbrush is ready. We still got some more details to add, but we're going to do that with some textures. As you can see, I'm in buttfuck nowhere, so we don't have an internet connection, so we're not going to use Canva today, we're going to use PaintNet. And I have to make a little logo, which I'm going to put at the bottom of the toothbrush. So give me my text tool, I'm going to pick a font which I think is suitable. Let's try this one right here, which I can't pronounce. We're going to write QUIT. I need a decent font size, let's try 216. And we're going to use this image here not only as a normal map, but also as a mixed shader factor. And that's going to allow us to replace the white color with whatever color we want, and the black color with whatever color we want. So let's save this image here with Control S and take it into Blender. We're also going to go up here to Effect, Stylize, Normal Map Plus. If you're using PaintNet, you're going to have to download this add-on. Just type in Normal Map Plus into Google. You're going to be able to find it. If you want to install it, I think the file type is called DLL. You just have to drop it into the Effects folder in PaintNet. You're going to figure it out. Now let's go back to Blender. Switch over to the shading workspace. Let's switch to Material Preview. We're going to add a new material to the toothbrush. Let's make it black so we can see what's going on. And first with Shift A, we're going to search for and add an image texture node, which we're going to place right here. Then we're going to duplicate this with Shift D. One of them is going to be used for the normal map, and the other one is going to be used for the black and white image, which we're going to use to control the colors. In the first image texture node, we're going to load up the image called Quit. This is just a black and white image. We can plug this into base color, but then we're going to have black and white. I don't want black and white. I want to use different colors. So I'm going to load a mix color node right here. This image texture node is going to be plugged into Factor, and now color A is going to replace the black colors from the image, and color B is going to replace the white color from the image. So color B is going to be the background, and the color A is going to be the color of the text. In this case, let's set the background to something blue like this. I kind of like how this color looks for now. I'm probably going to change it later. Now we're also going to have to UV map this obviously, but let's do that after we plug up the normal map. So let's load up the normal map, set the color space here to non-color. Then with Shift A, you're going to add a normal map node, plug color into color, plug normal into normal here. And as you can see now, we got a normal map. We're just going to map this shit so it doesn't look like it looks right now. I want the logo to be placed down here. So I'm going to select a surface like this, press U, unwrap, and now you can place this UV map over the text. I'm also going to flip it sideways so that the text is sideways. Scale this down a little bit to make the text as big as possible. I'm also going to scale this up on the Y-axis to make it a little bit longer. So something like this is going to do, but now we have to get rid of the text on the rest of the toothbrush. So with Control I, we're going to invert the selection, select everything with A in the UV editor, scale it down and place place it in some corner where you don't have any features like this. Now you only have text down here, everything else is clean. You can pick whatever color you want for this. I'm gonna pick some sort of a light blue because I think that's gonna be suitable here, but it just hit me that this surface over here should probably have a different color. So first let's zoom in on the side here and select one of the edge loops in this gap here. Press Ctrl E, mark seam. In face select mode, that makes it very easy to select this entire surface. So in the material tab, we're gonna add a new material, load in the same material using this menu that we have everywhere else, and you're gonna duplicate it with this button. Now you're gonna assign that material to the selection, and if you change the colors here, they're only going to change now for this surface over here where we assign this duplicated material. So I'm gonna make this gray, I'm gonna make it metallic, I'm gonna make it a little bit more shiny. I want this to be some kind of chrome material or something like that. Meanwhile, everything else is gonna be some kind of rubber that makes it a little bit more grippy, so when you're brushing your teeth, it doesn't fall out of your fucking hand. I don't know if that ever happened to you, it happened to me, but whatever. Now in this duplicated material, we can also set up some emission for this text, but we gotta change up a few things. We're going to duplicate the mix color node, plug the image texture node here into factor, and plug the result into the color of the emission. Now color B has to be black, and color A has to be whatever color you want this to glow in. Probably you want the same color. So now if you go to rendered view, and if you're in Eevee and you have some bloom enabled, you can just crank up the strength and this is going to start to glow, as you can see right here. This is also going to work in cycles, but in cycles you're not going to have this bloom effect. You can do this later in compositing. Let's also select this little piece up here and create a new material. We're going to give that the same color as this thing down here, and we're also going to make that glow because I feel like this is supposed to glow when it's turned on. As you can see, that looks pretty cute. If it's out of battery, you're probably going to want to make this red. Now let's move up here to the brush and let's set up some colors for this. The disc at the bottom has to have the same color as the rest of the toothbrush. So we're going to select this material on the rest of the toothbrush and hover over this dark blue color, press Ctrl C to copy. Then select the disc, add a new material here, and Ctrl V to paste this into base color. It doesn't work for me, but then if I do it again, it works all of a sudden. I don't know what happened. This is the type of shit Blender pulls on you sometimes, but whatever. Now we got to set up a couple of colors for the brush as well, but we got to first figure out how to do this. I don't know if there's a better way to control the colors for these things right here, but I know that if you add a material to this sample right here and you change the color for that, then all the hairs are going to take the same color. So we're going to have to split these into groups and use separate samples to control the color because I want to have multiple colors on the brush. This has to be white, this has to be gray, this has to be some color, probably light blue or green or whatever. So we're first going to select everything on the outside here with our brush select tool, then press Ctrl LP to separate by selection. Now duplicate this sample right here. This second sample has to have a different material and this one's going to be green. And now in the outer part of the brush, we're going to go to particle properties. We're going to go down here to render, get rid of the instance object and target this one up here instead. In this case, that doesn't seem to work. Instead, we got to duplicate this particle system. Now we can control this outer one independently. So instead of this sample, we can use this green one up here. Then we're going to do the same thing with this little plus shape in the middle. Separate that to new object. Duplicate the particle system again. Duplicate this hair right here and pick whatever color you want for that. I'm going to pick blue. And now here, once again, we duplicated the particle system. So we're going to get rid of the current sample and use the blue one instead. Be careful because this is going to significantly increase the density of hairs. So now let's fix up the colors because I don't want these bullshit colors. I want to have something more realistic. This green one is going to be white. The red one can be replaced with some sort of a blue. And then this plus shape in the middle is going to be replaced with some sort of dark gray. Now I think this toothbrush looks pretty reasonable, but this video is getting pretty fucking long, so I don't want to do any animation or any environments in this video. I'm going to make another video where I'm going to prepare a scene and an environment with this. So this is going to be a little bit more of a sophisticated project. Make sure you subscribe to the fucking channel if you want to see that next video. Like the video, let me know in the comments what you want the next project to be, and I'll see you in the next one.